Anyway, we back. Welcome back. Another episode of the Murph Mitise show.
In this next song, you must march around the room. Here we go.
Hey, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Just sit down in the chair.
It's beanie day for us. I've got a beanie on. Murph's got a beanie on.
And we're still good our
The Murph Mitise show, cow and space helmet t-shirts. My mum thought it was Space Cowboys.
Space Cowboys.
And I said, no, that's a copyright infringement, Mum.
Bit of Tommy Lee Jones.
A bit Tommy Lee Jones. I did want to say, I saw a meme the other day. I think I've put this meme up with you before. It said, everyone wants to wear Carhartt until it's time to do Carhartt shit.
I don't do Carhartt shit.
Yeah, you know.
Do you like the brand?
I did want to give a little shout out to my sponsors today. Westminster came in with a free beanie last night.
Nice.
I sponsor the team, so I want to give a shout out to Marion as well. They gave me a jumper. I wear that when I'm at home on the couch. It's nice and comfortable.
Nice.
Salisbury, thank you for your top last couple of years.
We'll have some gear very shortly.
Oh, that's a great segue.
Which will be announced at some point in the very near future, but not today.
I was hoping we could tease it. I was going to ask you how's your weekend?
We can definitely tease it, but it's not going to be announced.
Can we tease it?
That was the tease right there.
Oh, that was it.
Something is happening that you will find out at some point, but not just right now.
Murph's getting merch.
That's all you got to know.
It's not a Carhartt sponsorship, just so you know.
No.
Anyway,
it's not soccer.
It's not soccer. How's your week been?
Based on that bit, good. Also doing my exams this week, which has been enthralling, amazing. I love it. Who doesn't love a good exam? See, let's have a little bit of chat about that for a sec. This won't last very long. We can get into it and then move on from it. Examinations for assessment of intelligence for any industry. Mm-hmm. Good or bad? What are your thoughts?
Bad.
Likewise, think the same. I just think that an examination is, closed book. Don't study. Don't look at anything while you're doing your exam. Don't talk to anyone. Just sit there for only a very specific amount of time and get shit done and then hand it up. That's not real world. It doesn't make sense. It's not a good indication of what you do actually know. Don't like it. Change your shit. Moving on.
Did you do okay in your first exam?
Not so well. Having said I did well on my second one. Look, I got through it, finished it, passed it, moving on.
You're wondering where the heat's coming from today? That's it right there. That is the heat.
The thing is, if it was a bad exam and bad rest of the semester, I can, you know what, that's just me being bad. Mm. Bad exam, HD the rest of the semester.
Yeah, right.
Don't like that.
It's a good segue, I think, because I was going to I had a few ideas on what I wanted to talk about today. And I was thinking we could talk about the coaching, how coaching, understanding the message rather than the fluff, because I've been having a few talks lately with trainers and with friends of mine and with family and whatnot about actually trying to understand the message. And we discussed this in the last episode that we released, or will be releasing, around how to discuss and communicate with people in empathetic terms. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, it was interesting because I was talking to one of my trainers about how to cut through the crap of what's out there, Yes. And we're talking about, in this instance, it was demonizing sugar.
Yes.
Right? And
milk and carbs and
name anything.
Protein.
Name
and
anything.
Gluten.
Everything, and
exercise.
It's I don't want to demonize this, but I think, it's not bad in moderation, whatever the conversation was. And I said, look, you've got to understand deeper levels of how you're going to communicate to people, right? And I said, if you understand sugar inherently is not bad, you've got to understand why it's not bad, and how it's not bad.
Yeah, sugar's essential, right? We need.
This isn't going to be a nutrition discussion. I want to cut that off right now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I've had enough of that shit already.
Sorry, it's in my head still.
I know. It's more about, when we were talking, it was about how do you communicate what is good, what is not good.
Yes.
And what, how people are going to seek the information. Where do people seek the information? Okay, not in this instance now, not talking about sugar or fats or carbs, whatever, right? But when you're dealing with people and the Gen Pop, and we've got a 6-week challenge and your clients and whatever, where do they seek their information from? Okay, what are they seeing? How are they seeing it? How are they understanding and interpreting it? And then what is their output? You know, and what I was saying is that when we're looking at what is put out, say Instagram or you know, articles in the newspaper or books they read or whatever, you've really got to get this greater understanding of, okay, here's what's put out, here's why that person put it out there, here's what the study has said. You know,
it's all contextual.
It's all contextual from every single moment of what you're seeing, and then how to explain that back to people, because we're discussing in this instance around like demonizing sugar and whatever. So look, you've got to understand that if we want people to eliminate sugar from their diets, right, or substitute it or whatever, we've got to be able to explain why. And it's not just, oh, because of this person said this, it affects this and affects that, right? We've got to take it right back. You know, where is sugar naturally grown, right, in the environment, and how does that, you know, how the native cultures and indigenous around that, how do they process that, and what's their biochemistry like, and etc. and onwards, right? So
you're saying you're talking about sugar. There's a lot of sugar coming up at the moment.
Oh, no. I was talking about like in regards to like say in this instance, it's not just about sugar. You've got to take it back and see the whole picture.
Yes.
The whole picture on in this instance nutrition,
Yes.
but the whole picture on things. So if you said to me, oh, squats are bad. Okay, well, in what context, for
yes.
what person, at what point, where did that study come from? What was the outcome of the author? What is the, you know, the, what do you call it? The cohort that they used.
Now I'm with you.
All right, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And so this also came up, you know, when we talk about like the fluff side of things, it came up with, in regards to ACL injuries the other day, right? Because we've just released an episode on that as well. And
Go check it out.
check out episode number 50, all right? It was hot. It was a hot one. It's fire. We're talking about the ACL injuries, right? And one of my clients has just experienced injury, and she was like, "Oh, you know, I'm reading this from this person, this study, and this is what people tell me, and whatever." And I said, "Okay, cool. When you understand most of the studies that have been done previously, which we're talking about why do we do surgery versus conservative measurement, blah blah blah." I said you got to understand that most of those studies previously were done on older Gen Pop populations rather than athletic populations. You know,
And one thing I did learn this semester actually is most studies you'll see are around about the 8 to 12 week mark, when real results don't actually start until after the 12 week mark.
correct.
So you're going, okay, this is the result of 8 weeks. Yeah, it's a null hypothesis. I like that one. So it doesn't really work. But what happens in 3 months? You know, what happens in 4 or 5 months? Now it's starting to work and or still not working.
Yep.
Or can be and or not working.
Is or not. Okay.
So yeah, that was an interesting thing that so people are looking at studies in the way of getting their information. You need to know exactly what you're looking for and put it in that context you're talking about to really get the bigger picture of, yes, this is what I should follow, or no, maybe I should have listened to Murph Mitise.
like our own cheeky plug. It's gone meta. So yeah, that's been a big thing for me in the last week or two, helping and trying to provide a guidelines or try to provide understanding around contextualizing information and how you communicate that to people and where we get it from, and that can only come from experience. You know, you see, you know, in your 15 years and 13 years, you've seen so much different stuff. Seeing what works, what doesn't work, be able to analyze this, take that deeper. You know, don't just think of this one avenue and this one idea that you've taken on board, and more people might propagate the same idea, but what's the basis behind that? You know, why is that person saying that, or why is that group saying that, or how is that coming out? And, you know, across the board, everything. It's just been like, that's been my entire probably format.
Yep, and bias. Let's not leave that one out.
And bias.
Like pushing your own agenda in a study, in an article, in a blog, in a Instagram post.
Yeah.
Very easy to put out your message in a very biased way to prove that you're right, even though you may not be right.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do that.
Yep.
So yeah, again, listen to Murph Mitise.
And also what you said the other week about someone asked you why we do this show.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I thought, what did you say? What was your answer to them?
Essentially, it's like an online resume for us. It's something that if people want to know more about us as Murph and Mitise, we can say, go watch our show. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is our values and beliefs.
And you'll see bits of what we do on Instagram. You'll see bits of what we do on Facebook. You might see bits of what we do in emails or messages or whatever. But if you want the deeper understanding of us, we were like 60, 70 hours worth of us just sitting there chatting shit, on YouTube.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a far greater understanding of where our thoughts go from.
And essentially it's very raw. Like we clip the beginning where we talk shit and the end where we get up and walk away. And that's pretty much it. Like what you see is an unedited raw version, or listen to an unedited raw version of us.
Yeah.
This is us.
Yeah. And that was kind of like where I was thinking. I was like, how do we then? Because it kind of was exacerbated after our conversational communication as well. There was thoughts before that, and then that came out. Then I sent an email out to a bunch of people, and I got feedback from that. And for me, I was like, okay, how am I able to contextualize the information I'm saying and what I'm talking about? I'm trying to provide a far greater, the 2/3 of the iceberg as to why this little sentence came out here and this little idea came out here, and how do we then make that better? My thoughts are now, how do I then continue that moving forwards?
Yep.
And how do we communicate that moving forwards? I know you mentioned to me, you've got one of your clients going through a situation at the moment where you're trying to work through that and provide that information.
Which this week was good.
Can we discuss that? Like the idea behind that and how you managed to go from what you were at, and we could talk about that.
Yep.
To now how you're at, say, this week.
You know what's funny is the biggest change, the biggest reason for my change in my session last and my session this week was us.
What?
Was our last podcast.
Okay.
So even though like what we talk about is what we do anyway, it's almost like a revisiting each week of things we do. While we're talking, I'm like, that I do remember that. Yes, we do that. So I bring it back into the next week and with other clients.
I do the same.
And that's what I did with this one. I'm like, okay, what I need to do is stop focusing.
I was going to say, before you go on what can we provide some context around what the issue was, and then go on what you did, and then what the outcome was? Could we provide a beginning, middle, and an end?
Beginning, middle, end. So beginning was this client came to me. This client is seeing me with an issue, and where an injury. We're working through that injury to get them back into their chosen sport. And in my head, I know where I want to take them. I know what I want to do with them. I know what they need to do to get to where they need to be. But their psychology is making it very difficult for themselves to get through this, and making it hard for me. And that's not them problem, that's a me problem. To try and break through their psychology where they're currently at to get them onto the path they want to be on, or where they need to be. So we had a chat before the podcast last week. We had a chat in the podcast, not about that specifically, but about things, psychology. And I sort of sat back afterwards and went, you know what? It's a Murph problem. It's not them. They're my client. So I need to go put myself in their shoes, which we spoke about last week in our second of the two. Put myself in their shoes and actually think about what they're going through. Think about their psychology, not so much about what I want them to do, about what they're feeling, and make sure I can hit those targets while incorporating what I want them to do. So that's what I did this week. I sort of sat them down without going into detail what I was going to start doing with them. I said, I know what they want, so let's give them that. So they want to feel like they're working out. That's the biggest thing with injuries, is you do become quite restricted, but you're not completely restricted, right? You can still give someone a good workout, even if they have a really debilitating injury in a limb. There's still 3 other limbs, 2 other limbs, whatever's going on, right? So that's what I focused on today, was making sure they felt like they had a workout, while I still gave them the stuff I know they needed to get to where they wanted to be. End of the session, that was great, loved it, awesome session. And in my head, I'm like, sucked in, I still got you doing what I want you to do.
Sucked in, wow.
In my head.
In your head. We still achieved the outcomes that you needed, and we gave you what you wanted.
Exactly. It's a win-win for all. But again, it was just me taking a look back at myself, knowing that it was my problem, not their problem. Because as we know, we're dealing with humans every day. Humans are going to be these complex people, things, individuals, organisms that you need to try and work out yourself, because they're not going to work around you. That's what they're paying you for. You need to work around them, and that's what I do, is sort of break down my own psychology to get into their psychology to get them the result they're looking for.
How that is, I just want to give it a moment to pause, because that'll be a clip on the ground.
That's
that was
clip.
fantastic. How, in the process of you breaking down your psychology then, all right, in the process of you going, reflecting upon, okay, cool, what we talked about, and then what you had worked through, and then what they had worked through, and whatnot. It's, how did you go through and put yourself in their situation and try to understand it and try to empathize with that client in that moment after, you know, you've got 15 years of experience, right? You know, and so even still then you've gone, okay, cool, I need to sit back and reflect upon this, because the biggest thing I think you said in that communication and that little conversation, the story then, right, that I took from that was, it's not a them problem, it's a Murph problem.
Yep.
You know, and so if you've adapted your behaviors and your language and your communication and your session to work with them, rather than be like, this is what I want you to do, too bad, you got to do it.
Yep.
You know, so what was that process that you went through after our chat?
I mean, it was, I sort of took myself out of my own head, because I mean, as you said, with the experience that we've got, the education we've got, the knowledge we've got, should I say, we understand that if you do this, most likely this is going to happen. And we sort of take away that whole human element for ourselves, like with you, with your injury, with your hamstring, with me when my knee was sore.
What injury?
Yep. When we go through our own little niggles and injuries and whatever else, we know methodically what to do, when to do it, how to do it, get through it, and move on. We know all that. It's ingrained in our minds. But our clients don't know that exactly how it works. So I need to get back into what I was like when I used to get injured in my basketball days. You know, this person's not a basketballer. Don't go researching.
Don't go research.
I had to get back, like, well, how did I feel when I was playing competitively, when I was playing seriously? How did I feel when I had an injury? That's pretty much there's a good chance that's what they're going to go through. All they want to do, all athletes really want to do, is get back on to the field, back on the court. That's all they want to do. And that's what I had to get back to, that is think, you know, what did I feel like back then? That's pretty much what they're going to be going through. Go back to that, give them those things.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Because another big thing I had this week as well.
Oh.
I love how I feel like I'm like leading this conversation with things that I didn't even mean to be leading it into.
You're building your own segues.
Building my own segues. I'm like, here Murph, here's a little thing, and then you go segue, bam. Another thing that I found interesting, not on this topic, but also on a deeper communication level, was I had a big chat with one of my friends in I think she's in Brisbane, Queensland somewhere, right? And I went for like a beach walk. We had a big fucking 2-hour conversation, which I don't do because I don't like the phone, so don't call me ever.
We don't talk on the phone.
We don't talk on the phone ever. It's weird. If you call me, I'm like, cool.
What's wrong?
Someone stole my phone. And so we had a big chat, and in that conversation, you know, we were discussing feelings and how to say empathize with them. Like, you know, like you just said, how was that client feeling? And we're discussing outputs, and we're discussing blockages and boundaries that people have in this. So it was a mad long discussion on some cool shit. And one of her things she said to me was, don't tell me what it feels like, tell me what you feel.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what it feels like, tell me what you feel. And I was like, okay. And she goes, you know, people are conditioned to push their feelings to the side, right? As in like disassociate from it.
Yep.
So you say to me, you know, how do you feel when you go through your injury, right? And I'm like, oh, it feels like I can't do this, right? So I disassociate myself from the actual feeling, rather than being, I feel frustrated, I feel sad, I feel angry, you know. And that's something that's also sat in my head recently about, okay, cool. In what situations is someone saying to me, I feel like? What situations is someone saying to me, I feel this, the emotion? And what situations am I doing that? You know?
Yep.
In what situations am I trying to disassociate from my feelings? Or from what am I trying to disassociate from what I'm actually going through? And trying to bring that back into myself and being like, I feel frustrated. and then communicate that. I feel angry and communicate that. I feel sad and communicate that. You know, and that's a big thing that sort of, this has been the last week, you know, like last week alone, trying to go through, oh shit, like that's actually really powerful stuff that you don't even learn. You know what I mean? You don't learn how to deal with your feelings. You don't learn how to accept what they are and all this kind of stuff, you know. And so which is that, I was like, this is some cool shit. I'm gonna meditate on that for a little bit.
And I think this is where coaches then excel. People, not just coaches, people themselves. If you want a better level of communication, it's not always seeing the world through your eyes. Trying to take, watch the world through someone else's eyes. Get an idea of how they feel, and that's by asking them, and then start to appreciate that, not just listen to it, but actually hear it and appreciate it. I think at that point, then you can start to communicate properly. I mean, it's obviously for us, absolutely as coaches, where we need to really have a deep level of communication with our clients to get better results from them, to get them to where they want to be. But really, as I said, anyone, relationships, office workers, doesn't matter who you are, if you're dealing with people in any way, shape or form, if you can start to get yourself out of your own head and actually listen to and hear people, and put yourself in their shoes, there's going to be a huge change in communication.
And I think for me, it's also taken that next step of questioning. You know, in episode 20, we talked about 20 or 17, whatever it was, about the 3 whys. We did why, right? Now it's more like how, as in, when we talk, how do you feel? All right? And someone says, I feel like this, I feel like that. And we go, oh yeah, cool. As a coach, as a person, how do you feel, Murph? Right? I feel like this, this, and this. Now going, hang on a second, understand that's a disassociation.
Yep.
And say, no, okay, cool. I understand you feel like this. How do you actually feel? What is the emotion? Is it sad? Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it happiness? Whatever. And then taking that step. And that in the last week has opened up a whole bunch of other conversations that I've had. I love to have conversations all the time about.
You like to converse.
I love to converse, right? And taking that next step, and it's not something you can always do. Like say, if you're in a session or you're in your workspace or wherever you may be listening to this, right? But it's something you can actually try with your partners and with your family members and with your friends. Okay, cool. Are they saying feel like? Or are they saying feel?
Yep.
Very big difference.
Yep, absolutely.
And so big shout out, Sarah, for that one. That was crazy. That just, I was like...
I do like a bit of a mind-blowing moment.
I know, right? It was mad. So like everything like that and communication stuff we talked about and psychology with ACLs the week before that, like all that stuff is just kind of like rattled in my brain. One of the things we asked our challengers to do as part of the challenge was like a meditation. Take 10 minutes.
I started doing that last night.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You did?
A bit of a Matthew McConaughey story.
You're
going to bring up the ASMR.
I am about to bring on the ASMR.
I didn't know, man. I didn't know.
So, for context, last week Murph talked about, we were having a chat about sleep meditation. And he listened to some ASMR sleep meditation. And for those who are unaware what ASMR is.
Which I was.
But if you're in Murph's situation, understanding what ASMR is, it is a keen interest.
I'm not even sure. What does it stand for?
I can find it, hang on. But it's basically a keen interest in sounds. Like it's a kind of...
The auditory side of things.
The auditory... Yeah. Here we go. ASMR meaning is... I know what it is, but I don't know. Autonomous sensory meridian response. Coined in 2010, it's a relaxing, often sedative sensation that begins on the scalp and moves down the body, also known as brain massage, is triggered by placid sights and sounds such as whispers, accents, and crackles.
It didn't work, man. The whole time my brain's going, what the fuck is this? It was very, very weird and it did not help me sleep.
Can you tell us about the whole thing? What was the job interview?
Yeah, it was, they gave you 4 different scenarios and the one I went for, I don't even know why I went for it. It was a job interview and it's like, oh, I see you here for your job interview. And the guy on there is like, yes, I am. Come up the stairs. And you heard like every stair they were walking up. The lady was in high heels, the guy was in flat shoes. You can pick up this stuff. It's incredible. And they go into the office and they shut the door and you hear him sit down. All of a sudden it's like, you got my resume? And she says, yes, I got your resume. And you can hear the piece of paper pick up from the desk and flick through the crisp paper. And like, this is not working for me to sleep, but it's fascinating. And it's creepy.
If you go down YouTube hole on ASMR, I think I told you this one. There's a Korean lady who eats a bowl of lobster soup. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, the whole thing. So
it's I don't recommend it.
Anyway, we're talking about meditation. So
yes, anyway.
Bringing it back. We're talking meditation, and so spending that 10 minutes, and literally we're like 10 minutes 3 times this week. Not even 10 minutes a day. So 10 minutes by yourself, and just being aware of your thoughts and allowing things that you've either picked up or heard or been exposed to or have experienced this week, just to sit with you for a bit. Mm-hmm. Because I find it's very uncommon. Just take that 10 minutes, no distractions, nothing around you, just you and your thoughts to process this stuff.
Yep.
You know, and that's what I've been spending a bit more time doing after these types of conversations. Like I've had some like deep conversations and some mad long like responses to things I've written come through, you know, and like they're awesome, and that's what I'm trying to sort of set up. But taking the time to actually go, I can't read this now, but I do want to sit with this over the weekend or in the next couple of days to try and understand what you're trying to say and understand your context, not just what you've said in your writing, because you can, you know, manipulate or massage that for my purposes or for the purposes of people reading it, but what experiences have you had or what life have you lived to be able to then take on board the ideas that I've either written you or you've heard from someone else, and then put that out in a way that you're now like writing this to me, mm-hmm. or we're talking about this now. You know, actually going that little bit deeper level on communication understanding. And I think the reason is like I want to be able to learn more about the human experience. You know, and I'm really fascinated with this idea of deeper communication. And I would say like divesting yourself of all the I was gonna say boundaries, but all the shit that holds you back, and the emotional inhibitions,
yeah.
And why am I like this, and why is that person like that, and how can I better relate to them and understand what they're talking about, and where's all this going with things. I think for me that's where I'm at right now with those things. It's really interesting.
Yep,
it's fun times.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow's catch up.
We don't know when we'll release this. This will be 2 weeks from now, but we're gonna have some beers. We're going to get our microphones out.
We're going to have a good chat.
We're going to have a little old chat.
It's going to be...
I'm not going to hurt my other shoulder though. I'm not going to do that.
We're not going to do that.
Okay, shoulder's going to be...
Stay tuned for that one.
Shoulder's going to be safe. You'll know when that one comes out because
We'll call it beer chats.
Beer chats. You know what? I would say let's do a regular thing, but...
No. Just going to see what happens. See where it goes.
We'll go deep. We'll have to have some beer beforehand or some wine beforehand or something. Just to loosen up the lips a little bit. Like the lips are loose, but is the heart ready?
The heart lips.
The heart lips. beer chats and heart lips.
I like it.
There's a title.
I like it.
Anyway, I'm done for today.
That's cool.
We converse enough.
We did converse.
Just a little tidbit, 28 minutes, and we'll be back in another episode of Murph Mitise. So very soon. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Thanks, bye.